Our gospel today, we have many a one-liner. We have many things that we've heard, many idioms. It even has a little tongue twister in there just to cap off the gospel. I can't imagine trying to say 5 times fast, let alone 1 time fast. For the measure with which you measure will in return be measured out to you. But in the middle of that tongue twister is the love of God, is the heart of the message that we are given this weekend. We see this even in our first reading when David had at his hand, at his feet, the ability to slay his enemy. But he, as the Lord, had mercy in the end. Our Lord has so much love and mercy for us that we don't deserve. I love in the psalm that it says, as far as the east is from the west, so far has he put our transgressions from us. How beautiful is that? That the Lord, when he looks at us, doesn't see our sins, doesn't see our transgressions, doesn't see our misgivings, our misdeeds, our inability to be merciful, our inability to forgive. He sees his sons and daughters, beloved and created in his image and likeness. That's the legacy of the love of God. That's the legacy of Christ to us. But many times we struggle with this message. We struggle to love our enemies. We struggle to love our family. We struggle to love our friends. Because we take instead not do unto others what they should do unto us, but we instead try to do unto others as they have first done to us, but we want to do it one better. You hit me, I slap you. You slap me, I punch you. You punch me, I shiv you, whatever is next in that degree. But we always want to do more to someone than what they have done to us. Praise be to God, he doesn't look us that way. Because we don't deserve the mercy of God. We don't deserve the love of God, but he's going to give it to us anyways. Have we thought about how blessed we have been in our lives lately? I've been praying about that this last week, as Thursday was my 1-year anniversary of being here. I thought back to when I moved out here on Ash Wednesday last February 17th, and how I felt like I was living in North Dakota again, because if you remember, we had that freeze. When moving out here, it was one of those, I didn't know anybody. I had just gotten the keys to the office, and my first act as pastor was to say, hey, office staff, you have the day off. Don't come to work. That day, remember, we were going to have a noon mass that was going to be live streamed. And about 10:30 that Wednesday, I walked to the office to try and figure out how to get in the office. I didn't even have keys to my own office at that point yet. And I see water on the floor, and it's like, that can't be good. We had a pipe burst the first day I got here, indoors. The day before I got here, outdoors. So the first thing I do is text Amy and Katie, because those are the only 2 numbers I have at that point. Didn't even know about the Women's Guild, didn't know about our Knights of Columbus, didn't know who was on Parish Council, Finance Council. I text them saying, I have Mass. What do we do? By the time I came back from Mass, Amy came to work. Katie came to work. Tim came to work. Kristen came to work. And not only did they come, but their spouses and their children came to literally save us from a flood. And that's when I learned moving to Western Oklahoma wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Because you never know what you're going to walk into when you walk into an unfamiliar territory. In fact, I found it kind of funny because the fall before that, I had been on the radio with the Archbishop and talking about expanding Catholic radio. And we talked about how we're trying to get more radio out here in Elk City and in Woodward and in Guyman. And for some reason, in the back of my head, when I'm trying to remember where Guyman is, you look at Oklahoma and it's right here. Well, it had always been told to me, well, not Guyman, Woodward. When you look at Woodward, it's in the armpit of Oklahoma. And so me, being the naive priest from Oklahoma City on Catholic radio, said, yeah, we're trying to even get Catholic radio out into the armpit of Oklahoma in Woodward. So the Archbishop kind of looks at me like, Did you just say that on the radio? I wouldn't call it the armpit, Father. It's Western Oklahoma, where many, many faithful Catholics live. Got off the radio and he said, it's all fun and games, Danny, until I move you to Woodward. Close enough. And I tell that joke to say, I really didn't know what to expect when I got out here, but it's been a blessing every moment. There have been some days where it's like, I don't want to get out of bed, but that's anywhere. But there have been so many lives that have touched my life since I've been here. So many lives that we've offered up to the Lord at their funerals, that we've brought into the faith through baptisms, that we've joined in holy matrimony. We've got another one coming up on Tuesday with Eric and Randy. The sacraments are rich here. The faith is rich here in Western Oklahoma. We want to continue that legacy that began in the early 1900s with the churches in Canute and the church that was downtown here between St. Joseph, St. Francis, and Holy Family, that we now are part of 51 years later as St. Matthew's. But it takes us coming together as a community of faith to continue to preach this gospel in a world of hate, in a world that wants to divide us. How do we love as we wish to be loved? How do we give as we wish to receive? I always find the last two stanzas in today's gospel to be ever more true the older I get. Give and gifts will be given to you. A good measure packed together, shaken down and overflowing will be poured into your lap. And then, of course, the tongue twister of the measure with which you measure it will in return be measured out to you. But I have yet in my life to find when I have given of myself, whether in time, talent, or treasure, that I haven't received at least 5, if not 10-fold in generosity from others. And that's what Christ is talking about, that God blesses each and every one of us in our lives. And in fact, if it weren't for you and other members of the Archdiocese, I wouldn't be standing before you today as a priest. One of the things the diocese has us do every year is what used to be called the Archdiocesan Fund, now the Annual Catholic Appeal. If it weren't for this appeal done the last 30 or 40 years, I would not be a priest today because I wouldn't have been able to afford it. The largest line item that this goes towards every year is seminary education. Do you know how much it costs for one seminarian for 1 year of education in seminary? Roughly $50,000. You know how many seminarians we have right now? Only 21. Which means $1,050,000 just for us to educate our future priests. When I was in seminary, I think there were 26 of us, so $1.3 million, so that we could then go through what we needed to do, what we needed to learn, what we needed to understand, how we needed to grow, how we needed to discern to have me be here ordained 6.5 years ago as a priest. I sat down pretty quickly thereafter ordination and tried to figure out the math of how long it would take me to pay back the loans I would have had to have taken out if I had to foot that bill myself. 8 years of seminary, $400,000. If I didn't get taxed, didn't spend a penny, it would take between 20 and 25 years if there was no interest on those loans. But thanks to you and to your parents and your grandparents and their parents and their parents, I'm here today financially. I'm invested emotionally, physically, spiritually, because you guys first invested in me. When Jacob was in seminary, we invested in him. When Zach, now Simeon, was in seminary, we invested in him, and he discerned through his time at seminary at St. Charles and through his time away from seminary that he was called to the monastery and then to being ordained as a priest. And he serves in our diocese as a monk and priest of St. Gregory's Abbey. He's finally back in the States. Let's keep him. But we all have to come together to allow that to happen. But not only is seminary education what the ACA is about, many of the programs throughout the diocese wouldn't happen if it weren't for this fund. In fact, believe it or not, last year, we here at the parish received more from this fund than we gave to it as a parish. The 2 retreats that we had, the women's retreat, remember we had that back in June where we had 95 women? The first time many had ever been to a retreat, and we had Mass here afterwards, and it was the most beautiful sound I've heard in Mass for a long time because everybody sang. And if you hear just women sing, it's like the voice of angels. And many of you came and commented to me afterwards like, wow. I said, I know. Imagine if that happened every Sunday. They're like, yeah. And at the men's retreat the week after, where I believe 55 to 65 men came to that retreat. That was helped funded by the diocese. Our programs that we have for our kids throughout the summer, Totus Tuus, church camp. Last year when we had work camp, this year when we have work camp. The grants that help pay for that, we got $10,000 last year from the diocese to help foot those bills. When we had the confirmation retreat here back in December with Steve Angrisano and almost 200 people that came to that retreat, the only bill we had to pay was the donuts and the pizza, which there was nothing left of. I wanted dinner that night. The kids ate it all. But we are blessed by the diocese, and the diocese is blessed by us. And I can't help but be reminded of those words from JFK. Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Well, put on us. Ask not what the diocese can do for you. Ask what you can do for the future of the diocese. It's perfect that we talk about legacy and future as we have 2 that are coming into this legacy and future here in the Kirk Twins. What legacy do we want to leave for our children? All of these rapscallions and rugrats that are around, and we want to have a church that is full of faith, that is vibrant, that is growing for them. Whether that's what we received or not, what do we want to leave for them? How do we help them from a diocesan level to have these programs, to ensure that we will always have a priest here? Most people in the diocese don't realize how scarce we are as priests right now. 45% of our presbyterate is not from the States. Our last 3 priests, missionaries from India. 2 of the priests that surround us in Clinton and in Mangum from India. Father Cristobal up in Woodward from Mexico. Now, he went through seminary with us and grew up in the States, but many of our homegrown young men haven't chosen this as a profession, as a lifestyle, as a ministry, as a vocation. So it's our responsibility to then take care of those who are discerning that vocation and helping them in that seminary time, not to have to worry about how am I financially going to take care of it, but how can I spiritually and ministerially and faithfully practice what I preach, practice that good news. So yesterday when I was sitting in the confessional waiting for people to come to confession, I pulled out my phone and we got an email earlier this week from the Archdiocese saying, hey, you can go online and make your donation. So I went online and made my donation. And one of the cool things they have now, because I don't know about you, I'm a set it and forget it type person. When it came to the capital campaign, when it comes to my car insurance and my car payment, I put it online and pay it off. Just go on there and take it out every month. They now have that option for the ACA, thank God. So that hopefully we won't have to have these conversations in the future because we will consistently be paying for the present and future of our diocese. So this year, the diocese has asked us, as St. Matthew's and Queen of All Saints, financially to pay for our next priest. I mean, not fully, of course, but pay for their education this year. Our goal between St. Matthew's and Queen of All Saints is $45,000. It's a large sum, but we can do it. Part of my tithe is going towards that because I believe in this parish, I believe in this diocese. And so at the end of your pews, you'll see that we have one of these. Some of you have already gotten them in the mail. Some of you guys have already made your donation. But take a moment to look through those. Pass them out if you need them passed out, because they're only on the ends of the pews. But take a minute to look at these. I'll give you guys some time to fill these out, and then we'll continue with the baptism and continue with Mass.